Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm just your average race fan, and today we have a treat for you. Well, who am I kidding? It's also going to be a treat for me. Everybody knows I love to talk motorsports. Who better to do that with than an actual race team? So today we're going to have a racing conversation with a race team. So what's special about this one is it's going to be a hometown highlight. That's where we highlight a hometown driver or a hometown track that's close to the vicinity in my area of mid-Missouri. So today we're talking with Ted Welshmeyer and the crew of the 21W Superstock. So Ted is coming off a pretty successful year. Him and his crew have clinched the POWRi 2024 National Superstock Championship, as well as wrapped up their second in a row track championship for the Callaway Raceway. So they've been gracious enough to let me take up their time, pick their brains, and allow me into the shop, hopefully get a look at the car. So come along with me and hopefully we can have a great conversation. Hopefully we won't ask you anything too hard, and we'll have a good time and have a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Ted, you're coming off a pretty good win this year with your crew. You're the 2024 POWRi Superstock National Champion. You've also added another track championship to the collection in the trophy case out at Callaway County. You've got, 10 feature wins this year? Somewhere in there?
Between the Superstock and the Pure Stock, we have 10 wins.
Yeah, and then you guys had a pretty good finish down at the Big Buck Challenge down at Lucas Oil Speedway. So congratulations on all that. I mean, that's no small feat. Obviously, we're talking a little bit earlier, and you're no stranger to victory lane when it comes to driving this thing. So one of the things that's kind of curious to me is what got everybody hooked into the sport. I know some kind of ease into it, and then some, once they see something or once they hear a car, they're hooked.
Well, for me personally, it started when I was a kid in high school, actually grade school. I lived in Whole Summit and J&L in a trailer park, and Capital Speedway was right behind the house.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Well, we could hear them every night, so when we were kids, we would go up in the woods up there behind the track and climb up in the trees and watch. And then eventually one year I ended up working in the concession stands, and I loved racing from that day on. I loved watching it. There's some bad boys back then. But unfortunately, kind of life gets in the way. I had a kid when I was very young. I joined the military. I was 28 when I started racing, I believe it was. So I started very late in life because I had kids and just finances and all that stuff. But ever since I was a kid and could watch it almost weekly for nothing up in the trees, it was kind of cool. So I always wanted to do it, and it took me a while to get the right opportunity to get started.
Well, that's cool.
So for me, I started when I was a kid in high school. I worked for a guy named Tom Battle, and he helped a couple of older guys that raced at Capital Speedway in a modified, and he got me involved into learning how they worked, how to build them. Remember when I was a kid using soapstone on a concrete floor to explain to me caster and camber and bump steer and all those things I really didn't understand at the time, but he was trying to teach me. So I got involved and started helping out with those guys at a young age, 16, 17 years old. Kind of got back out of it for a long time through life, and met Ted through a mutual business partner that I was working with that was selling auto race parts. So I started helping a little bit here and there. A couple of years, didn't spend a whole lot of time with the team, but just every once in a while I was around. And here about 3 years ago, I
Come on full board.
came on full board, full time, and spent a lot of time with him learning about these cars because I didn't have any idea of how they were built or made or what made them work.
Pretty sure you said I didn't know there was this much work in the street stock.
That's true. I did not know
Matt's
that.
background was with modifieds, which most of those are bought chassis and you bolt everything on. He had never
correct.
built one from a bare frame.
Right. So I got the opportunity with Ted to build one from the frame up. And then we went to some classes, used Winning Technologies. Kevin Rogers and Scotty Allen put on a seminar every year. And we went the first year and we learned a tremendous amount, came back and kind of applied it. And with a little bit of extra help from Scotty, got a good foothold on how to get this car set up and get it running well. So
To put it in perspective, in 21, when Power Eye started, we won 3 races at one racetrack. We raced 50 nights, a lot. We raced lots of different racetracks. That winter we decided, after that season we decided we were going to build this new car. And me and Matt, we decided we were going to this class to try to educate ourselves. After we built this car, we struggled with it the first month or so. Scotty gave us a little more advice, and then we started getting it to go, and we fine-tuned it to my driving style. But so the year before, we won 3 races at one track. The next year with this new car, we won 10 races at 6 different racetracks. So that puts it in perspective how much we learned and how much we got better by going to some of these classes and educating ourselves. So just to kind of put it in perspective, 3 races, 10 races at 6 different tracks. So it's not a lot of guys can do that.
Yeah.
So
All right, so 10 years ago, my stepdad, who used to work for Ted, brought me to Callaway Raceway there in Fulton, and I was the shyest little girl. I wouldn't touch the car, I wouldn't do anything, and then as the years progressed, I was 14 years old when I started around, and 10 years later, here I am doing a lot of work on the car, except suspension. I don't do that. And I'm just grateful that Ted allows me to be a part of the team and go from there. You can't get me away from it.
All right. Well, it's always interesting to hear everybody's story, and obviously those are pretty cool. So this being a super stock built from the frame up, obviously you said, you were talking about the modifieds being a bought chassis, and obviously the sprint cars, late models, they're just from the ground up, born and bred race cars.
correct.
With this being a frame-built car, what makes a super stock fast around the track?
Well, it's not only super stocks, it's any car on the racetrack. At least a fendered car, I know. I can't speak for sprint cars, but modifieds kind of fall in this category. Front geometry and front suspension is huge in the way these cars drive. These particular cars, the street stocks or the super stocks and the pure stocks, we don't have the mechanical advantage that the modifieds and the late models have in their suspension because we are pretty much stock rear suspension except for the springs and shocks, but all the mounting points are stock. So that type of suspension kind of fights itself and you can't really do a whole lot about it. So if you can make the front turn and carry speed through the corner, the back will follow, if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah.
The speed is in the front of these cars. You have to, depending on what class you are, you're limited on what you can and can't do to the suspension. Pure stocks, of course, you're way limited compared to all the other classes.
Yeah.
Because that's your beginner class. But to me, the speed is in the front of the car. If you can make the front work and carry speed, if you carry more speed through the corner, you're going to carry more speed down the straightaway. The corner races are won in the corners, not down the straightaway. They are won in the corner.
I watch the car a lot at races. I always pay attention to what the front end is doing versus the back end. It tells me what we need to do if we need to make adjustments or if the car's in good shape. 9 times out of 10, if I think the car is good, when he comes in, he tells me it's great. So just the attitude of the car will tell you a lot, just the way it rolls through the corner and the way it picks up speed coming off the corner. It tells you a lot. A good driver can sometimes crutch or make up for a nail handling car. But there are telltale signs. If I can see the wheels turn to the left and the car's going up the track, I know the car's tight. If I see him go in the corner and the back into the car wants to step out right away, I know it's loose. So I pay attention to those things, and usually when we get back and talk after the race, we usually come to the same conclusion. We very seldom ever have different stories. Now, there is times, when he crutches the car and he'll tell me it's a little different than what I saw. It can happen. Like I said, he can make up for some things that are ill handling on the car the way he drives.
That's cool.
I've just been driving a long time, and I've not had good cars all my career. So if you learn to drive with junk, you get really good with good stuff. I mean, I'm not trying to buffalo anybody. I'm telling you, I started with some rough stuff.
Yeah.
And I did okay with it. I mean, and now I got good stuff. So if it's ill handling, I can compensate some of it in the driving. And a lot of guys can. The good ones can, I think. So not that I'm trying to brag, but I've been doing this for a while.
So obviously,
Dale Berry, that's what I call a budget race team, and he's very competitive.
yeah, Dale Berry's pretty good.
I mean, and he's what I would call a budget race team. I mean, I'm not going to say they're cheap,
Yeah.
but their funds are limited, and they do amazing things with what they got. I mean, they're very competitive just about anywhere they go. So, I mean, and I've been there. I mean, my first year racing, I had to borrow a shop, a truck, and a trailer every Sunday to go race. That you're either going to race or you ain't. So,
Yeah, that's definitely dedication right there.
yeah, it kind of sucked. You get home Sunday night and got to unload the truck and take the truck and trailer back to who you borrowed it from.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I can see that. Definitely make for a long night Sunday and definitely an early morning Monday.
then you get up and do it all over again for the next week. So, you're either going to race or you're not. I mean, that's how I started. So,
Well, that's awesome. So, Ted, we're talking about your early days and, the struggles that you made throughout the beginning of your career. Do you remember your first win and what was that like?
yeah, I'm pretty sure my first win was at the second year at Callaway. The second year it was open, I got my first win. The track was super rough, especially in turn 3 and 4, had a big old rut. But I could lay the right rear in it and just let her eat. And that's back when we were running DOT tires and cast iron intake, cast iron exhaust. And we just got lucky, actually. But it's worked out. The next week we got our second win there. We won 2 there that year and back to back. And I think it was the week before that, I got caught up in a wreck and got the rear end tore out of it. And I had to find another rear end that week to put in it because we were running stock 9-inch Fords out of pickups, basically. So we had to jig them up to fit a metric car, and so it was a lot of work to keep it going. But yeah, it was amazing to get my first win. I mean, they say the first one's the hardest, and that is no lie. But we were lucky enough. I got my first win my second year of racing. So
That is pretty cool.
we've gotten much better.
Well, yeah, I was getting ready to say, luckily the wins have kind of
We had
come a
we
little
had
bit
some
after
pulls,
that.
because when she came around, we wasn't winning a whole lot, and then we took a couple of years we didn't win any at all. Then just bad circumstances. We kind of fell behind with my deployments in the military. I kind of got behind on technology and what they were doing, but you just got to keep plugging away. But there were many times I was about ready to quit. I always told my wife when we started this, I asked her 2 things. I said, if you let me race, I'll let you number the car. And if it ever takes food off the table, we'll park it, or I quit having fun, we'll park it. Luckily, none of that's happened. So,
Well, good deal.
but I've come close to not having enough fun, and I almost parked it. Luckily, I didn't do that because we're having a blast again.
Well, good. That's always the point. It's always the goal is to have fun doing it. So, I know we've talked a little bit about you racing at Callaway. You've raced at Double X. Obviously, with the Big Buck Challenge, you've raced down there at Lucas Oil. With all those tracks being in mind, which do you prefer? Do you prefer the big tracks with the sweeping corners like State Fair Motor Speedway, Lucas Oil, or do you like the small ones with the tight corners like Double X?
I would probably say I favor the 3/8 miles to like the late third of a mile. I think it's a third. That, and the only reason I say that because you have more room to race. California, honestly, the last couple of years I've been surprised I haven't gotten tore up too bad. Back in the day, it was the weekly thing to get trashed, and I'm not about that. We got too much time and money in these cars anymore. I do like Lebanon. We do get beat up there sometimes. It's a little bigger than California. But my first one would be like probably the 3/8.
Okay.
Mile. I mean, state fair is fun, but we only do it once a year. The reason I'm not a big fan of like Mobley and the state fair and like I-70, it's super hard on equipment, super hard on motors because you're running them so hard,
Yeah.
so long. So if you have a big motor, a performance motor, they don't take that beating like a regular daily driver does. I mean, they are maxed out on tolerances and everything, so it's harder on them. But I do like to have the room to race because I started in California, and the first time I went to Fulton, I looked at that track and went, "Oh my God, this thing's huge." But then I got out there and I was like, "Wow, I like this because you got room to race." California, it was like bumper to bumper, door to door.
Yeah.
Callaway, you can go 3, 4 wide and not touch. So that's what I do like. And Lucas is like that. Lamont was shut down. It was based after Lucas. It was a 382
Yeah.
boat track. We got our first championship there back in '05. So those size tracks I really like. Callaway's are real. I really like Callaway. CMS, super fast, but it's rough. It's rough.
I think
So
I've only been out
fast.
to CMS once or twice.
It's rough. There's nights there's nights we go green, white, checker, and there's nights we can't hardly get a lap in because either people got their head up their butt or the track's too slick but it's good. We've gotten tore up there bad a couple times. Bad. So it's a fun, fast track, but man, it's a good chance to get something tore up there.
So, with all that being said, and with all the tracks and what you like and dislike about them, do you have an absolute favorite track? And this is a double-sided question. So, Ted, do you have a favorite track when it comes to surface, atmosphere, fan interaction? And with you guys have a favorite track when it comes to all that stuff, but plus crew accommodations?
Well, the nicest track is Lucas, of course, because it's all
It is the
bits.
diamond of dirt.
Right. But probably my favorite track right now is Callaway because of the racetrack itself. The facilities aren't bad. They're not Lucas by any means.
Yeah.
They have an amazing crowd every week. I mean, that place was shut down for 2 years or 3 years. And
Something like that.
they opened back up, and it was like they never shut down. That crowd is amazing there. It's awesome to have them fans. We have a lot of fans at Callaway. I love having fans. It makes it twice as fun for them and us as the driver and the crew to have people yelling and cheering for you. If you go out there and ride around with nobody watching, what good is that?
Yeah.
That ain't no fun.
I know I was
I mean,
pretty
it's still
excited.
fun for me, but
Yeah.
definitely makes it more exciting when everybody is involved.
I was definitely pretty excited when I heard Callaway was going to open back
So
up.
was
So
I.
I think a lot of people were. I think you're on
We've won a lot of races there in the last 2 years. So, what do you think, Matt?
I guess my favorite track, and it's always been that way, is Double X. I love the close racing. I love the guys that not everybody's the fastest out there, but as tight as that track is, it keeps everybody kind of bunched up together. So it's always exciting to watch. I think one of the most excited I've ever been was watching him finish last year before last.
2 years ago, the
With,
Jason Russell Memorial.
Yeah, it was Jason Russell Memorial.
We won it coming out of turn 4 in the last lap.
Last lap, sparks flying. John Brooks.
John Brooks was leading, and I knew I got a run on him, and he never lifted. He bounced off the front straightaway wall, hit my right rear, sparks were flying, and we took the trigger.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was
man.
an amazing race.
But the caveat to that is the night before we won down another memorial race in Nevada the night before, so we
Yes,
won
we
2 memorial races that weekend.
Oh, that's cool. That's got to feel
But
good.
that is the most excited I've ever seen that man.
That's true. That's
I
true.
got video to prove it.
All right, my favorite would have to be Callaway Raceway, just because it's close to home and there's a lot of fans in the stands. And after every feature win, there's kids that go to the bottom of the fence and cheer because they want the trophy, they want the signed checkered flag that the drivers get. And this year we started something different where every time we were in victory lane, we took off a mud plug and Ted signed it and we gave it to a kid.
Oh, that's cool.
Along with the flag. So it's pretty cool. And all the kids, it's cool just to see them down there yelling because they want the flag. So it's pretty cool. I like Callaway. And Lucas Oil Speedway is a good track too.
The lay of the track it makes it so fast. There's usually 2 lanes of racing. Occasionally it'd be wrapped around the bottom, but most of the time you got a high and a low side. And it makes for some exciting racing.
And was it last year that we came from 15th and won?
Oh man, that'd have been a good race.
Yeah, it was. It was
That was
pretty
the
cool.
topless. Was that last year? The year before was the
Year
topless
before.
race.
Yeah.
We got caught up in a wreck in the heat race and broke both rear caliper, brake lines,
Oh,
bent
man.
spindle, bent the plier. We fixed it all. We started dead last and won that race.
Who needs brakes anyway?
You need brakes.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
spent lots of money on brakes. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool to hear about the different tracks and why you all love them. Obviously, each track is different, has its own personalities, its own fan base, and we've actually got some pretty good ones here in mid-Missouri. I know you guys have mentioned going all the way down to Nevada and Lebanon,
We
which,
started off the year in Texas.
oh man, that's quite a hike.
Deep in Texas.
Saturday we're going to Oklahoma.
Oh man, well, you guys got some driving to do. All right. So, what track or what race you think is the most demanding on you as a driver?
Trying to think. My first thought is CMS. Probably the most demanding.
I agree with
It's
that.
so close and it's so fast. You have to pay attention to everyone around you because, like I said, some of the cars are ill handling just because they're newer at it and they don't have the experience and the knowledge that some of us other guys do. Not that we help people if they ask us,
Yeah.
but that's probably the most physically and mentally demanding race there is. The Big Buck was pretty demanding too because you got 25 of the fastest guys in the class there, running for 50 laps. So that's a long race.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. I know that.
But on a weekly basis, I would say CMS is probably one of the most challenging because if you run the cushion there, you definitely got to pay attention because if you go off, it can be very bad. Very bad.
Now, to expand this to the crew, what do you guys think what race or track is the most demanding on the car, as far as what you have to set up to make it work at that track, or what get the wear and tear that can happen sometimes on the car throughout the night.
I'm going to have to say CMS as well, just because we have not found the setup yet to make this car just right.
We haven't won there yet.
We have not won, so it's constantly a mental battle trying to figure out what we need to do to make it better, to make it work. And it's also demanding physically because this car's been wrecked a few times there, and
Bad.
it has taken some work to get it fixed. It was last year we cut the whole rear section off the car and restubbed it in 3 days.
Put a new rear end in it and restart it.
Yeah, new rear end and restubbed it. So yeah, that came from CMS. So I'm going to say CMS is the most demanding kind of out of all the tracks that we've been to that I've been around. It's definitely been.
The setups in our car, it doesn't change a lot between tracks. It really doesn't. I mean,
Not usually.
the setup changes more to track conditions than it does to the tracks. Like when we go, it's pretty much got the same setup no matter what track we're going to. May have different gear in it, but the setup is pretty close. Now when we get there, we may adjust. We have a baseline that we go with. So, but CMS is
CMS
is challenging all the way around.
It's the redheaded stepchild. And just
But it's some of the baddest boys out there that
Yes,
run
it
there
is.
weekly.
Yeah. There's no
some
slouches.
good guys there. Really good cars there.
I've only been out there twice, and from what I've seen, there's some pretty good racing out there.
It is.
Especially in this class.
So, you're talking about the adjustments and stuff. What is the hardest thing to adjust on this car, and what is the easiest thing that you can do throughout the night to make the car work?
But the hardest thing to adjust is the driver.
Now,
Because we can't do anything about that. I'd say the easiest thing, she's probably got the easiest thing figured out.
Easiest thing is changing the gear. That's my new job I got this year.
oh, nice.
Two little.
We went to a quick
Spur
change
gears,
this year.
Yeah.
That's pretty simple. 5 minutes.
That ain't bad at all.
The chassis, the easiest thing is probably weight reactions. Putting a round in or taking a round out.
Yeah, or changing the shock.
Yeah, or shock change. Which, that don't happen a whole lot.
Not a whole lot.
Like I said, the chassis setup changes based on track conditions.
Now, I was getting ready to ask you about that. So, throughout the night, obviously the track's going to start off tacky. You're going to get some pretty good grip on it. If it's still got a little bit of tack during the feature, can you? How obvious is it to feel the car's performance changing with the track conditions as it slicks off throughout the night? I mean, is that something where you notice your tires are spinning a little bit more than others, or
Oh,
if you
absolutely.
move down to the?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you know when you start losing grip. But when you've done it as long as we have, we can kind of predict what the track's going to do and what we need to do to the car to make the car better at the end. This car runs better on black, the more fuel it burns off. So we don't put as much fuel in it if the track's going to be slick. So we want the fuel to burn off because it'll tighten the car up as the race goes on. There's been many races I've run the top and then it starts slicking off and I move to the middle and it starts slicking off and you end up on the bottom by the end of the night, or you run the bottom of one end and the top of the other because they're different ends, depending on which way the wind's blowing across the track. But yes, you can definitely feel your tires if you're not careful. I've worked really hard the last 2 seasons trying to conserve my tires and not, just spin them, because it just, once you get them super hot, they lose their grip. So yeah, you can definitely tell when it's going away and you need to look around, try to find another line.
What is, and this is for all of you guys, when you pull into the shop after the night is over, what's the most stressful thing about getting this car turned around and ready for the next race weekend?
Go ahead.
The most stressful thing?
Yeah, like,
I'm not sure there's anything stressful unless we had a bad night. We got to do a bunch of repairs. We pretty much have a maintenance program. We do certain things certain nights. Like Tuesdays, like tonight, we call it Tire Tuesday. Tonight is when we unload the car, wash all the tires, grind all the tires, wrap all the tires, and get them ready for the next weekend.
Flip the car over, make sure
Look at the
nothing
car
major
over, make
broken.
sure there's nothing major, like we found the battery falling out tonight. That's bad. You gotta fix it.
yeah, that
When
would
we
be
had to
bad.
fix the radiator hose, they got tore up and I hit the shock in the big buck. But unless we've had a bad night and tore something up real bad, it's not really stressful. It's just we start on it after 5 and we try to be out of here by 7. And then Thursday we'll unload it. If we need to make any changes like gear changes or suspension changes, like if we adjusted for the feature and then we need to put it back to our setup, our original setup, we do all that and we wash the car. Tuesdays is also trailer maintenance. Crew chief, she cleans up the trailer, makes sure fuel jug are full, make sure batteries are charged for the tools, all that good stuff. She takes care of all that while I grind tires and take care of the tires. And then Thursday, he's here. If it's a service the engine week, he runs the valves and tests the valve springs, and we change the oil and we grease it and we look it all over, change transmission fluid. We have a program and it works pretty good. We don't not finish races because we break them. We usually get damaged if we're not going to finish a race. It's not because something broke on the car. We nut and bolt the car every week, make sure that nothing came loose. Things like the battery. It happens. These cars vibrate. They shake.
Oh, yeah.
They get the crap beat out of them. So you have to check all that. So the only time it's, to me, is stressful is if you go to CMS and you get the whole ass end pushed over 2 feet and you get the rear end mount ripped out of the rear end and you got to have it fixed by Wednesday night.
Like Wednesday night.
Because Thursday you have something planned for work and Friday you got a race. So that's the only time it gets stressful.
Okay. So mainly, if everything goes right, you can pull it on the trailer. It's a pretty smooth operation from getting it back to the shop, getting it ready to go racing the next week.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
I used to spend a lot of, every night working on it and stuff, but I've learned with the right people, you don't have to spend every night on it. If you don't tear it up, like I said, we do Tuesday, we do tires, hook it over, trailer maintenance. Thursday, set up, we put it on the scales, we wash it, and we load it, and when we unload at the track, all we do is torque the lug nuts, set the tire pressures before hot lines. So we're ready to race. We don't work on the car at the racetrack unless we had a bad night Friday and we're racing Saturday. I hate working on the car at the track. It's not we're there to race, not work on it.
That's good philosophy.
Yeah, and then Saturdays, what we do, we race Friday night and Saturday night. So what we do on a Tuesday and a Thursday, we do in 3 to 4 hours on Saturday, and then go race again, and then repeat the process.
So the first thing we do Saturday morning is unload it, jack it up like it is now, take the tires off, and she washes them. While she's washing them, I may be doing a gear change, set up springs change or whatever, not a spring change, but a chassis change. He may be doing the motor. He changes the air filter. He takes care of the motor. He nut bolts it. He changes the air filter, all of that. We look it all over, grind tires, put them on, wash the car, load it, and go race.
Nice. Sounds like you guys got a pretty good routine, pretty good machine going here. Obviously, the success of this year kind of proved that. So, yeah, it sounds like you guys are on the ball.
It works good because everybody knows their part and what they have to do.
Yeah.
We don't have to question each other and say, did you do this, did you do that? We already know that's being done.
And when we forget, she usually reminds
Yeah,
us.
she usually keeps us safe. But when she ain't here, we could have changed stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's always good to have a.
Yeah. We don't make changes unless she's gone.
Just like this weekend.
Yeah, we're going to a track this weekend we've never seen.
No.
Where you guys headed?
Tri-state.
Coley, Oklahoma.
Polo
Tri-state.
Tri-state Speedway.
So Ted, we've talked about wins tonight. One of the things that I'm always curious about, the winners that run these cars and eventually accumulate a decent amount of wins, is what is your favorite win?
My son was driving my Pure Stock. We built the Pure Stock a few years back. He'd been driving it, and he was kind of chasing the points there at Callaway. And I raced before him with my Super Stock, and I ended up winning that night. And then I think it was the last race. And he went out there, and in turns 1 and 2, he went from third to the lead. And I was like an expecting father, walking, pacing the stands, like, do that again. Do that every lap. And he ended up winning. So to me, that was my greatest win, was the night I got to win with my son at the same track and the same night. To me, that's one of my greatest achievements, was to do that with him. I've had so many great wins over the years. I've had so many great races that I didn't win, but to me, that personally, to win the same night with my son at the same track is an amazing night.
I mean, that would be pretty incredible to have your son win. You said Pure Stocks, and then you come in and take the trophy into Super Stocks. That would have been. I bet you there's a pretty good celebration going on.
It was amazing
at the trailer that night,
and that's the only one he's ever got.
Well, what a win to have, though.
It was awesome. I was glad I was there, first of all, for him to get his first win, but it was even cooler that we both won that night. So that's my favorite person. I have lots of others, but that's top of the list for me.
That's cool. That is a great one. Now, you guys can answer this question as well if
Sure.
you want to.
I'd say mine was kind of a weekend, I guess. We went to Nevada to a track he hasn't been to in 10 years, and I had never been to.
We're going to start at Callaway.
Well, that's true. We started Callaway that weekend with the tech place finish.
Yeah, because I messed up.
He messed up, and
I spun out, went to the back, and got back to second.
Hey, that ain't bad.
Not bad.
That's a hard Charger award.
It is. And then went to Nevada. Like I said, he had been there in 10 years, and I had never been to the track.
Just to give you an update on Nevada, since you're not familiar with it. It's a little bigger than California, but it's run a whole lot like California.
Yes.
It's redneck racing, that's what I call it. I mean,
Right.
It's old school racing.
Right. There was no My Race Pass, no transponders, none of that stuff there. Did they have receivers?
Yes.
They did have
They
receivers.
do have racing. California has them now, too, by the way.
Yeah.
Moving up.
But it was a memorial race, and some of the fastest guys that run our class were there. And I think we started 7th or 8th, 6th or 7th, somewhere in there for the feature. And we threw something totally off the wall, setup wise, at the car,
Just for a Hail Mary at it.
just to see what was going to happen. We had no expectations of winning or anything. Just wanted to see how the car was going to react to what we did. And I don't know, it was probably 10 or 15 laps into that race.
I was about halfway, but I think we took the lead on like 12 or 13.
12 or 13. But yeah,
We drove around them on the outside in the black.
yeah, it was black, slick, dusty, so dusty you couldn't even see the lights. Like, it was horrible. And he ended up winning that race, that memorial race, which was
by
Amazing.
a straight of it.
Yeah, quite a ways.
The car just got better and better as long as the race went. It was easy to drive. When they're easy to drive, they're fast.
And then the very next night, we went to that Jason Russell Memorial in California at Double X and won that.
Yeah, but we won that race, and we were standing on the front trailer at 1 in the morning
That's true.
to get our picture.
That was a long weekend.
I laid on the couch when I got home at 4:30 in the morning,
Yes.
and we were here at 2 o'clock the next day to turn the car around to go to California.
Yeah. And that was 3 days of racing. That was a Friday, Saturday, and
Friday,
Sunday.
Saturday, and Sunday.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that sounds like a busy weekend, but I mean,
was
obviously it worked
productive.
out. Yeah.
Very. Yeah, very.
And that was a cool last lap, last corner pass to win that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've never seen him so excited.
Those are always
Before he was
exciting.
excited, but for a different reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I do get a little.
I would have to say the favorite race that we won was Ted did double duty at Callaway Raceway. Oh, I think it was last year. Was it? Yeah, it was this year. And he brought the pure stock and raced the super stock, and he had no intentions of winning the pure stock race. And the next thing you know, we're on victory lane in this pure stock, and so it was.
It's only the second time I'd raced that car ever.
Yeah. Gives you good feelings for
Yeah,
the next race.
It was nice, and he got a cool steering wheel from Superior
Yeah,
for that.
we dominated that race.
Yeah.
It's a good race.
That's pretty cool.
That was a good weekend.
I like hearing stories like that. So we'll wrap this up with one of my final questions from me, and then I got a fan question for you.
Mhm.
What frustrates you guys the most about the sport as it stands today? Or is there anything? I mean,
I guess what frustrates me, at least from the driver's standpoint, is some of the other drivers and the disrespect there is for equipment. They think they're running for $10,000 every Friday night when they're going for $500 or $400. They're spending thousands and thousands. We all race hard. We all have problems. Guys that have problems that can't admit that they had a problem is frustrating. If I make a mistake, I'll tell you I made a mistake. I'll take my butt chewing. I've made plenty of them over the years. I promise you. That's kind of frustrating to me. It's some of that, but for the most part in our class, there isn't a lot of that. There's a handful of guys that are challenging to race with. They just leave it at that. But our class is probably one of the cleanest.
Yeah, I absolutely think so.
They all have a lot of money in their cars, and a lot of money to them may not be a lot of money to me, but it's still a lot of money to them. And
Yeah.
this is still a lot of money to me. Everybody's money level is different, so we need to have the same respect for everybody. You know, because you spend $10,000 and they spend $5,000, that's still $5,000 they spent. You know, that might be their max.
yeah.
So why would you want to go out and tear their stuff up? They won't be there next week. I mean, we want to race other cars. We don't want to just show up. You know, so I think in the B mods is probably the worst. I don't know what they're doing. They tear stuff up weekly. Our class is pretty good. They're, like I said, but every class is going to have their couple that I don't know. They just are a little more aggressive than they probably should be.
Yeah.
But to me, that's probably the only frustrating thing. Since Power came on board, they've lost some tracks, but to be able to go and race it anywhere and know you're legal, I like that.
That does help.
We fought that for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Where you're legal here, but you weren't legal here, or you had to run a 2-barrel here and you could run a 4-barrel here. Well, I can tell you right now that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't scared to take this one on against a 4-barrel now. We went to Texas and ran against 4-barrels, and we finished third. So, but
It definitely helps when you know.
when you know you can go to a track and you're on even playing field with everybody, you know, rules wise,
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. But the only thing that frustrates me is some of the people that get too emotional about it and they lose the focus of these are made to have fun. They're not to make money. They're to have fun.
Yeah.
And I told my crew at the beginning of this year, because we've been trying to win this championship for the last 4 years, and we finally got it this year. And this year, before we started, I told them, I said, we're going to go have fun, try to win races, and the rest will take care of itself. and I think we've accomplished it. We've had a blast this year.
Well, that's always good because, I mean, obviously on the local circuit, you know, you're not making it rich off the winnings and stuff. You're doing it just for the sheer passion, whether you're driving, whether you're working on it. So it's always good to keep that in mind. That is a great message that these guys need to just remember that it's all about fun. Obviously, you know, tempers flare every now and then. That's going to happen.
That's called competition.
But, yeah.
Yeah, and
You
being
know.
passionate about the sport.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that are very passionate.
Yeah, I am.
We got to
Hey.
calm him down occasionally.
Well, it comes with the territory.
It does.
So we're going to wrap this up with a question that comes from a fan outside of myself. So this question is from Zach, and he asks, what would be your dream win? If you had one race that if you had the money, the car, the situation, everything was right, that happened that night, that you could go to that race, enter it, everything happened, the 99 things out of 100 that have to go right to win a race did, and you could win, what would be your dream win?
Well, Zach, that's a tough question, to be honest. My first thought is the Big Buck 50. I would love to win the Big Buck 50. It's a big paying race. It's the absolute best in a 4-state, 5-state area because they come from Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Illinois. I mean, it's a big event. To make the show is a big deal. But probably on a lower scale for me is to get a win at CMS. I have struggled and struggled. We have been so close so many times, and it just hasn't happened. And I don't know why. We pretty much won everywhere else we've raced.
Yeah.
We have struggled to get a win there. That would be an amazing win for me. We have a pretty good fan base up there also, and they stick with us. I mean, we try hard. We've gotten several seconds.
Yeah.
We got beat last year by a quarter fender.
Oh, that's
So-
got to be tough.
And we were 6 laps to go. We were running fourth, and we chased him down. We got shoved out into the outside, which we found the rubber strip, and it was fast. So I thought we was going to get him, but like I said, we just for some reason that one and Lucas. I've never won at Lucas Oil Speedway, which the Big Buck 50 would be a double for me.
Right.
Get a win there and win that race because it pays big money. Puts the prestige of winning it is
Yeah.
more than in. Like I said, I don't do this for the money. I try to hopefully win enough to kind of help pay for things like pit passes and fuel and stuff like that. But it's not to make money. It's strictly for bragging rights and having fun. I mean, but the Big Buck 50 is probably at the top of the list.
That's pretty cool, and hopefully next year when you go out west to CMS, you'll pick up a win and get that box checked.
That's one we want to get checked.
And,
We thought we had her this year one night, and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
One of those guys that drives a little too aggressive sometimes. Kind of maybe got a little too aggressive that night and took us out. So.
Well,
He didn't necessarily take. I took myself out to not hit him,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
and that's what I mean by our class. I think there's a lot of respect for each other's. But I would rather wreck my stuff than take somebody else out.
well, hopefully that win comes next year. And again, I'd like to thank Ted Welshmeyer. I'd like to thank his crew, 21 Racing, for allowing me to come into their shop, ask them some questions, pick their brain, have a conversation with them, take up your time, most importantly. So we'll wrap that up there. I'll let you guys get back to work. And thanks again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, everyone, I hope you enjoyed that conversation that we got to have with Ted and his crew. They were all awesome. They were all very gracious for me taking up their time, and they went with the flow even when I made some mistakes there. But that I cannot thank them enough. Ted, Matt, Madison, you guys were awesome. I had a wonderful time in your shop, and I cannot convey my appreciation enough for you letting me in your shop, letting me take up your time, and having a conversation. Again, it was absolutely amazing. For everybody out there, if you want to keep up with Ted and his crew, 21W Racing or 21W Motorsports on Facebook. They'll post some of their upcoming races and stuff like that with pictures of cars. If you want to go down the pits, say hi after the races, I'm sure they would like that. They're really down home, salt of the earth kind of people. I can't speak highly enough of them. So that'll do it for this video, everybody. If you like the video, go ahead, like, subscribe, share the video. If you're new to racing, go ahead and check out our racing playlist, Racing 101. That will kind of lay some of the groundwork for some of the races if you're new to the sport. So again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.